What up, Sauce Gang, and welcome back to the channel. Hot Sauce Beats here with another dope reaction for you. Well, yesterday was the first day that I got out multiple videos. Ever since I got COVID, we are on day 8, day 9 of COVID now, and I'm feeling night and day better. So I thought this was a perfect time to jump back into Minecraft lore from MatPat, and we're checking out game theory, the murky history of Minecraft's underwater gods. Now this one's another one that you guys have been requesting a lot because there's just so much stuff under Minecraft water that we don't really spend a lot of time with, and that you guys said that he did such a good job with this video. So I am beyond hyped with this, and I'm stoked to jump back into some Minecraft lore. So if you enjoy this, please help support the channel by smashing that subscribe and like button. It's absolutely free and it greatly helps out the channel. But enough talking, let's get to reacting and roll that bomb ass intro.
Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Hot Sauce Beats is finally here. Eat, sleep, make beats. Eat, sleep, make beats.
Hot Sauce Beats. Woo-hoo! It's game time.
The ocean, a beautiful blue crystal on this cuboidal
The
planet
ocean.
we call home to sea creatures large and small. The majestic squid, the playful
Something's
dolphin,
gotta happen, right?
Reborn souls of the dead waiting to drag into your watery grave!
all
Do it
today
now.
on Game Theory.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, where
It's a
today we're
game
engaging in a
theory.
very mature 13+ critical analysis of a fun for all ages game, Minecraft. Does that cover me? I'm not gonna get hit by any FTC fines, right? Here, let me throw in some big words just in case. Entrepreneurship, anti-disestablishmentarianism,
That's a big word.
defenestration, rampant consumerism. Hey, you know, speaking of rampant consumerism and that 2020 Kaaba purge, if you want to help protect this channel while also showing your theorist pride and staying cozy this winter season, brand new everywhere is available round, and even
New
the
merch.
selectors are doing on her old.
All right, let's just jump ahead of this and get into the actual
downward.
video,
Sure,
fam.
everyone
Here we
is
go.
always excited to make songs dedicated to the
Let's
fiery
go.
death plains of the Nether, or to discuss the otherworldly void of the end. But the
It's a
watery
game
depths of the
theory.
overworld offer just as many breathtaking sights, unusual creatures, and head-scratching mysteries, and yet no one really seems to care. It's kind of like art imitating life, because here in real life we're so focused on space exploration that most of our undersea biomes here on Earth have gone completely unexplored. I think we've only seen like 5% of them.
Chat, this is crazy. So I was in the Navy on submarines. So I mean, I've been literally around the world on a submarine. I've seen a lot of the ocean, and it is mind blowing. A, how deep the ocean is, and B, how much of it has never been explored. Like, think of that. Never been explored. Never.
So today, I'm gonna change that. Not the 5% thing. Heck no, that water is cold. No, I'm just gonna sit on my butt and talk about oceans in a video game for about 18 minutes. What's the deal with
Let's
the Guardians
go.
and the Elder Guardians? Where did they come from? Are they just giant fish creatures that really like hanging out in ocean monuments? Did they build the ocean monuments? Seems pretty unlikely. And speaking of those buildings, what's the deal with those massive underwater mazes? How do the drowned fit into all this? What are these trident-wielding mer people? Are they just zombies that fell into the water?
annoying,
Get
that's
ready
what
to
they
take
are.
the plunge, because today and next episode, we're diving straight into the deep end. What first started me down the path of ocean mysteries were the Guardians, and their bigger granddaddies, the Elder Guardians. From a mob standpoint, I mean, sure, they're giant sea creatures with one eye and spikes. Nothing super weird there right off the bat, but what initially got
They're
my
annoying
fear
as
senses
well.
tingling was the way that they attack. With a literal laser beam. An underwater eye beam that requires time to charge up before it launches at you and causes massive amounts of damage. That's,
you're dead.
that's
You're
pretty
dead.
weird for a fish, or really any sort of natural, organic living
I mean, just imagine, yes, if you little goldfishy, all of a sudden, brrr, you'd be like, what the shit was that?
creature. I mean,
What was
Minecraft is a
that?
game full of fantastical creatures, don't get me wrong, but attacking with eye laser cannons just felt out of place for me. So I just kept swimming, and stumbled across an even more unusual detail: their inability to die. You see, if you take a Guardian or Elder Guardian out of the water, it just flops around on the dry land, like a cubic Magikarp. But why this matters is what doesn't happen. You see, it doesn't
die.
suffocate when exposed exposed to the air. It literally just keeps flopping around until you carve it up to make sushi. Well, it's just a video game mechanic, I hear you saying, and you'd be right if only other fish behaved the same way. For every other fish in the game, you take it out of the water, it flops around and eventually dies.
Is it the
Take
only
a squid
one?
out of the water, it suffocates and dies. Take a salmon out of the water, it suffocates and dies. Take a pufferfish or a cod out of the water, they suffocate and they die. If you can't tell, there were a lot of cuboidal animals that were harmed.
Chat, I did not know that a guardian is the only one that won't die. Because I know there's like a lot of people that do traps and stuff, right? Like you put a guardian, you know, you block it off and whatever. And I did not know
during
that.
the production of this video. Anyway, the
Matt
Guardians
Pat's
and
always
the
teaching
Elder
me new
Guardians
stuff,
are the
chat.
only undersea creatures that can live indefinitely on the land. So between that and the laser eye thing, there was just something, pardon the pun, fishy about them. Or actually, that's completely the wrong pun because it was something that didn't feel fishy about them. Something that felt a bit less like an animal and a
Unfishy.
bit more like a machine. Let's look closer at the design of the Guardian. Notice the colors of its flesh and the cracked patterns across its body. It's nearly identical to the prismarine blocks that form the ocean monument around them. Coincidence? I think not. And that isn't just my observation either. In Minecraft's official mob bestiary, the in-depth guide written from the perspective of an animal researcher in the Minecraft world, they specifically allude to this fact. Quote, their skin is cracked, as if carved from some ancient rock, and their single white eye is somehow both unknowable and cruel. End quote. Ancient rock, you say? Like perhaps prismarine? The very same stone that serves as the primary building block for all ocean monuments? The only place in the game where they spawn? Further supporting the idea that the Guardians aren't made of flesh but rather of prismarine stone is their drop behavior. When killed, the Guardian has a 40% chance of dropping prismarine crystal, which, for a fish, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, if you kill a sheep,
That's
it
very
drops
true.
you wool. If you drop a cow, it drops you like cow flesh. But if you're a non-organic creature built
flesh.
from the nearby rocks and minerals, well, that could certainly explain a whole lot. And speaking of their drop behavior, the mob bestiary does a drop of its own. Another interesting tidbit about the Guardians. Quote again, Elder Guardians will also drop a water-absorbing sponge if killed by an adventurer. And if it doesn't drop a prismarine crystal, one will find raw fish of some kind in its place. Some scholars think that this is evidence that its diet consists of fish and other natural watery foodstuff, but Guardians have never been seen to wander far from their temple homes to catch them, so
That's
we
very
cannot
true.
be sure. End quote. It's an odd detail to include there at the end, right? To specifically call out, hey, they drop fish, meaning that they might eat fish, but, you know, considering the fact that they never leave the ocean monuments they spawn in, they probably don't eat the fish. Again, all the evidence
So
seems
it's almost like they draw their power from the temple. You know, like if they go outside of a certain radius, they're not powered from that temple anymore. Maybe?
to be pointing to these creatures not being animals, as I'm sure we've all assumed them to be, but rather some sort of artificial
Robots?
creation. A defense mechanism built of the surrounding materials somehow mixed with real-life fish, or
Sorry,
real-life
chat.
fish
Sorry.
DNA to protect the
Had to do
very
it.
monument that they spawn inside. Even the creature's anatomical design inside the mob bestiary seems to contain some level of secrets. For most other mobs in the game, the book has this incredible illustration of their inner workings. The dense skeletons of the creeper, the humanoid brains of the Enderman. But for the Elder Guardian, we get ourselves a piece-by-piece dissection of the eye, with components that look kind of like wires, leading to panels meant to charge up its laser. And underneath that thick, rocky skin, nothing much. A thin layer of pink with a gray area that appears to be stone. It's certainly not any sort of bony structure. It's not anything that resembles the inner workings of a fish, and it's certainly not anything that looks remotely organic. Lastly, it's worth noting that the Elder Guardian's eye will still have the ability to track a player who's invisible, seeming to suggest that this mob is dealing in the thermal spectrum, tracking your heat signature rather than any sort of visual sign of your movement patterns. So again, another weird, interesting detail about these creatures. I mean, even the name seems to allude to it, Guardian, considering they only spawn inside ocean monuments and they're called Guardians.
They're
If they weren't
guarding.
indeed man-made, well, clearly they were made to act as some sort of security mechanism. But then, what are they
God, they're
supposed
so annoying. They're so annoying. You know, you get guaranteed miner's fatigue, and you're not even safe in a boat, fam. You're just not. You just got to stay away from the Guardians, unless if you're going there on purpose to kill them. But God, they're so annoying.
protecting. Well, despite ocean monuments being massive complexes, there's really only two unusual rooms worth calling out inside of them: the sponge room and the treasure room. The first is fairly self-explanatory. It's the sponge room. It is a room full of sponges. There's not much more to say there. I'm personally more of a loofah man myself, but still, it's odd that whoever built this enormous building deemed it necessary to dedicate a room to this one oddly specific item. More on that in a minute, because it's the treasure room that I think the Guardians want to focus on. You see, while every monument may not necessarily contain itself a sponge room, all monuments do contain themselves a treasure chamber, a central area with a tall ceiling and 8 gold blocks located in the middle. Gold blocks that are encased or hidden behind a layer of dark prismarine. And it's this right here that is perhaps the most oddly specific design choice hidden in the entire game. Here we are in the middle of this massive underwater complex made entirely of one material. Just varieties of prismarine everywhere. That's it. And yet, smack in the middle, the designers decide to include this massive golden box. Alright, that alone would make some kind of sense, I guess. Displaying your prized treasure like it's a core to the entire building, but it's the fact that the gold is hidden under another layer. That the gold is literally encased within a box of dark prismarine, within a box of another stone hidden away, that really strikes me as noteworthy here. And it's those details coupled with the overall design of the structure that leads me to believe that the ocean monuments were made to be religious buildings. First, let's just start by looking at the overall design.
So what? And then the gold is an offering to the elder gods, whatever you want to call them. You know what I mean? Is that what this is?
Sign of the ocean monument. It's a classic ziggurat structure, a staircase-like building with wide flat landings that get narrower each level up. Basically, it's like a big pyramid, but with some stopping points as you get higher, whereas a more traditional pyramid, like those in Egypt, consist of a smooth, continuous line all the way to the peak. Ziggurats were famous in ancient Mesopotamia, basically the first place you learn about in world history class and never fully understand or care about. Cradle of civilization, have no idea what that is. Let's just get to ancient Greece and Egypt already. Those are the cool ones. Or at least that's how I felt when I was learning those units. So I went back, refreshed myself on all that information, and let me clear it up for you. Mesopotamia back in the day was where modern-day Iraq and part of Syria are today. So basically, it's an ancient civilization located in the Middle East. That is where you would find structures like the one that we see depicted here in Minecraft. So, knowing the real-life structure that these monuments are based on, we can start to get clues as to what their intended use was in the Minecraft lore. You see, in ancient Mesopotamia, a ziggurat's main purpose was religious. It was meant to connect heaven and earth. They're thought to have been built to literally house the gods. As such, only priests were allowed to get inside of the ziggurats. And this hypothetical religious use seems to be supported by Minecraft. You see, one other key feature of the ocean monument is the fact that underneath the monument are 23 giant pillars that stretch down to the ocean floor. And it's always 23, unless of course there's some weird spawn hiccup. But that 23 number, I've said it so many times this episode, it seems so oddly specific, right? It has got to mean something. And wouldn't you know it, I think it does. You see, the number 23 is just one of those numbers that's considered to be really...
Are these temples built to worship Michael Jordan?
Really important to humans. It's a prime number, which already makes it special. It's the number of chromosome pairs that we have in our body. It's basketball star Michael Jordan's number. There's a really bad Jim Carrey movie all about the number 23. So, you know, really important stuff here. But all joking aside, there's even something called the 23 Enigma, essentially a belief that the number has some sort of magical or mystical significance because of how much it shows up in our day-to-day lives. So when it comes to numbers, 23 is kind of a big deal, just behind top 10, lucky 7, and I guess unlucky 13. But when it comes to religion, 23 is an even bigger deal. You see, in the Islamic faith, there's the Quran. It's the Islamic sacred book, just like Christians have themselves the Bible and Jews.
Now, fam, are you guys going with this? Like, are you jiving with this? Is, you guys know I love almost all of Matt Pat's theories. This one so far is kind of seeming like this one's kind of a stretch. I mean, we're not done. We still got a couple more minutes left, and maybe he'll tie it back in, but I don't know. This one seems like a little bit of a stretch.
Judaism has the Torah. The Quran is believed to be the word of God as dictated to the Prophet Muhammad. And it took, get this, 23 years for the entire book to be revealed to Muhammad.
Oh, wow.
It's also Muslim belief that the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad on the 23rd night of the 9th Islamic month. So again, in the Islamic faith, the number 23 matters a lot, meaning that those 23 pillars in the Minecraft ocean monument could could very easily be referencing important pieces of religious architecture found around the Middle East. No, ziggurats aren't mosques, where Islamic faith is currently practiced, but they are connected by geographic region and religious connotation. Now, here is where everything comes together. If Minecraft's ocean monuments were indeed places of religious significance, where an ancient race of people believed gods could come down onto the earth and live, it could explain the box of gold encased in dark prismarine with sea lanterns in each of its corners. But to understand why, you have to be familiar with the Kaaba. The Kaaba is a black cube building at the center of Islam's most important mosque, the Great Mosque of Mecca. It is the most important place in the Islamic faith, so important that practitioners of Islam are almost required to take a pilgrimage to see this once in their life and give worship there. Why? Well, it's thought that the Kaaba is the house of God, the sacred house, the connection between heaven and the earth. The Kaaba is a sacred place with an inside of gold and marble, but on the outside, it appears to just be a large black cube of dark granite, just like we see in the game with the dark prismarine being on the outside of those golden cubes. In each of the corners in Minecraft is a sea lantern, and wouldn't you know it, each corner of the Kaaba also has itself a special symbolic significance, most often pointing to one key location from Islamic history. So could it be that the guardians of Minecraft are protecting the most sacred treasure of all, the location, or at least the perceived location, of God himself? It sounds crazy, but remember, the ending of Minecraft does indeed have two godlike figures speaking with each other about your gameplay. The fact that gods exist in the canonical universe of Minecraft is an established part of the lore. I mean, a lot of the details really line up here. The ziggurat structure connects us to the Middle East and Islamic tradition, the 23 pillars and their importance to Islamic faith, covering up the golden, important interior of a building with a dark stone exterior just like the Kaaba, the perfect cubic shape of both of those structures, the importance of each of the corners, the need to have the guardians protecting this place at all. Heck, even the name. This is the Ocean Monument. It isn't a ruin, it's not a temple, it's a monument. Monument is a word used to honor a place of historical significance, a place of the dead, or an important figure like a god. You don't call the building that houses your sponge room a monument. Oh yeah, and it's worth mentioning here as one last final note, the one practical function of the ziggurat was actually to serve as just a high place on which the priests could escape rising water that would flood the Mesopotamian areas every year. Rising water, huh? Maybe the underwater monuments weren't quite so underwater. So we have ourselves the heat-seeking laser-shooting fish that might have been man-made to protect an underwater monument dedicated to what may or may not be an ancient god. Now the only question is, who built it? Why is it here underwater? And that, my friends, is explained through two words: the drowned. But that theory will have to wait for another day. In the meantime, remember, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
Let's go. Let me bring you in, chat. Okay. Oh, jeez, come on. Never a good time to cough while you're recording yourself, but, okay. So like I was saying, God, I got a frog in my throat. Frog. Oh, jeez, come on. God, guys, this one, I don't know. Like I was saying, I feel like this one was a stretch, right? But he did tie it in though with that whole the black box thing, whatever that was called, the kebab. I know that's not what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. And then the golden box in the underwater temple, the underwater temple. God, fam, I don't know. This one's really tough. I think this is the theory I'm the least sold on. However, MatPat did present us some dots that do connect. It can make sense. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think on this theory. I'm really interested to see the next one that talks about the drowned and see what more it ties into. So, but I'm glad we're back reacting to this. I had an absolute blast reacting to this. And if you enjoyed the video, please help support the channel by smashing that subscribe and like button. It's absolutely free and it helps out the channel. Have an amazing week. And remember, It's eat, sleep, and make beats, and as usual, be kind to one another. And that's all I got. Boom! I'm out. Got 'em below for the Sauce Gang. Peace out, fam. I love you.